everybody, and welcome back to Jewelsknits for Bamma. I'm Jules, and this is my knitting podcast where I talk about all my knitting, crochet, and fiber related fun. I've got quite a few things to show you guys today, so thanks for coming back if you're coming back, and if you're new, hi. Happy to have you here. So real quick before we get started, I just want to let you guys know my friend Corinne and I have decided to try and start a little bit of a fiber group in Keene, New Hampshire. We reached out to a local brewery, and they're more than happy to have us come hang out there once a month or so and knit and have a brew. If beer is not your thing, they have food trucks out back, but our first meetup is going to be March 28th at 5:30 at the Modestman in downtown Keene, New Hampshire. It's right on Main Street. And if you're in the area, we'd really love it if you came and hung out and shared your knitting journey with us, and we'd love to make some more friends and kind of grow our little local fiber community. So we hope to see you there. Also, a little bit of a disclaimer, my toddler and her daddy are upstairs playing, and the room is right above us, so if we hear a little bit of noise today, that's why. I'm sorry, this is real life, and we're going to keep it real here. So, let's get into it. So let's jump right into acquisitions. I've only got a few acquisitions today, but I have one super exciting one that I can't wait to show you guys. A little bit of backstory. Last weekend I was kind of bored, kind of, in the mood for some new yarn. You know how sometimes you just get a hankering to get like a skein or something. You don't really have a project in mind. You just kind of want something fun and shiny to look at. So I went down to Webb's, which is about 45 minutes away from me, and they happen to be having a huge sock yarn sale. So I grabbed a mini set. Now, I've already kind of broken into this because I wanted the white in it for a pair of socks that I'm working on. But I will try to pop a picture up here in the corner somewhere of the set together. But first, I'll show you what I do have. So this is Cloudborne Fibers, and it's an 80-20 base. I lost the bag, guys. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's an 80% superwash merino, 20% polyamide base. There was 5 colors, 5 20-gram mini skeins. So these are 4 of the colors, and then the only color missing is just like a plain basic white. And yeah, so that's that. Super excited to have all these. I've needed some minis just to throw in like heels and toes and cuffs of socks. I'm getting kind of low. My stash on that is getting a little depleted. So that was my first acquisition. But my second acquisition was, it's actually 3-in-1. Like I said, they were having a sale at Webb's on the sock yarn. So I grabbed a couple 50-gram skeins. These are Cloudborne Fibers Highland Superwash Sock Twist. And they are, let's see, 80% superwash fine Highland wool and 20% polyamide. So this is the first color I got. Ooh, that's getting way blown out. Let's do it back here. Yeah, that's better. Like this really pretty greeny, earthy tone. And this is the colorway. Oh, I just saw it. Where'd it go? This is the colorway Ocean. And then I got, so these are all 50 grams. So then I got this one, which is just a nice neutral, tan beigey color. And this is the colorway Taupe Heather. And these are the labels on all of them. So there we go. You guys seeing that, or is it still? I will someday figure out how all these podcasters get their cameras to focus. And then the third one I got is in the colorway Espresso Heather. And it's this beautiful, like, dark chocolatey brown. And I just thought the 3 of them together, was amazing. I was really in, like, the bluey green feels, I guess, when I went there. But then I started to think, like, ooh, some of these, these mini skeins. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. They'll probably be socks, or maybe like I wonder if I could do like a cool stripy muscle burr hat with them. I don't know though, like the twist on this is so beautiful. It would probably make really awesome socks. So anyways, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with it, but love these colors together. They're not necessarily like something that I would choose for myself per se. But I've been trying to make really conscious decisions on like buying yarns that have more, like having more of a variety of colors, so that when I need to make a gift or something like that, I can just pull from stash, because mostly what I have in stash is either stuff that I'm already working on, or it's like these fun bright colors that like I think, ooh, that would be fun for one of my girls, or you know, something like that. So I'm trying to load my stash with some more neutral colors so that when I need to make a gift, I just have it. So my third and final whip for this week was when I went down to Webb's, I realized that Northampton Wools is not that far away, and I've heard, I think Kevin and Ray from Needles at the Ready talk about it before. I think it might have been on the, what's that called? The I-91 Shop Hop tour or something like that. I don't know. One of the podcasters I watch have talked about it before. So I decided that since I was down there, I might as well, you know, pop on over. I, again, didn't really have any plans in mind, but I really wanted to check it out, and I figured I could find something cool there. So I went there and I was looking around. They have some awesome yarn there. It's the cutest little shop. If you ever are in the area and have a chance to go there, highly recommend. The ladies working there were super nice, super inviting. They asked me if I needed anything, and I was just like, no, you know, I'm just looking, and they weren't like bombarding me with, oh, well, there's this and there's this, and they just kind of let me do my shop, which I really appreciated. So I was just looking around, and I found some mini skeins that I thought were cute, and I was, you know, gonna grab them. And then I'm like, well, let me just look at the books real quick, because there's this one book that I've been looking for a while now, but it like basically sold out the minute that it came out. It was like you couldn't get it, you know. So I didn't have high hopes that it would be there, but I always like to check every time I go into a new yarn store. So I'm standing there looking at the books, and there's a lady sitting at the table, and you know, she obviously works there, and she asked me if she could help me find if there was anything I was looking for in particular. And I asked her if she had the worsted book by La Bamma. And she's like, oh, this one? And she holds it up. And she was actually looking at it, which I didn't even realize, which I don't know how, because this book, when you see it, is very recognizable. But it ended up being the last copy they had. What are the odds? This is the book. I'm so excited. I finally have it. It's on my person. It's in my hands. It is gorgeous, guys. Like, even if you don't want to knit the patterns out of this book, like just buying it for the photography and just the book alone is like 100% worth it. It's a little bit of an investment. However, like, if you bought all these patterns on your own, which you can't because they're only in this book, it would cost you, like, you're probably saving money just by buying them all in the book. So 100% worth it. It's called Worsted. It's by La Bamma. It's a collection of very well-known pattern designers, and it's published by Lina Magazine. So this is, oh guys, I got it to focus that time. This is what it looks like. It's got designers in here like Stephen West, Andrea Mowry, Tiff Nealon, Maxim Sear, Nancy Merchant, a couple others. Great. It's a great book. The photography is just amazing. Like, got full page photography, and the entire book is like this, like, canvas. It's got like this canvas shell on it. Oh, like, look at the hat and the sweater. I want to make them both. But the original reason, oh, and also it's got the little string to keep your place. The original reason I wanted to buy this pattern book was for this sweater. This is a Maxim Sears sweater. Max is part of Les Garçons. And I really want to make it for my husband. And for me, and for my mother-in-law, and for like everyone in my life, because it is so, it's just like, you can make it for a guy or a girl, like either one, and it's just so interesting, and I've never really seen a colorwork sweater that's quite like it. So I'm excited to get going on this. I haven't done a pattern in it yet. It's got everything. It's got shawls, it's got scarves, it's got sweaters, hats. I haven't gotten to start anything in it yet just because, to be honest, I have entirely way too many whips right now and I need to like dwindle those down. But also because it's just, the sweater is so amazing to me. I want to be sure that I'm getting like the perfect yarn, and I really want to think about it before I start it. And I should probably, sorry guys if you can hear my heater, I should probably finish the sweater I have for my husband on the needles now before I start another sweater for him. So that's all I have for acquisitions this week, and let's get into finished objects. So I do have 3 FOs to talk about today. However, one of them is actually an FO from like before my last podcast, and I just forgot to show it to you guys. So I do have a list up here, so if you see me looking over there, that's why. I made myself a list so that I stop forgetting to show you guys things. So let's talk about that first. I made my first ever stuffy. Okay, so I lied. It's not my first ever stuffy. The first ever stuffy I made was when I was 7, and I got one of those little knit your own teddy bear kits from my Bamma, and I knit her a teddy bear. It's horrendous. I have it in my house. Maybe someday I'll show it, but today is just not the day. But anyways, so I have a friend who has some Dotsons, and she absolutely loves them. So I thought I'd make her a little mini Dotson to match her real life Dotson. I was inspired by Welsh tenor Martin he's Welsh tenor on Instagram. His name is Martin. He's Knit365 blog here on YouTube. He's always making the little Toff dolls, and I think they're so cute, so I decided I wanted to try one. While she loved it, and I'm so happy I made it, and it was awesome because it was a super quick knit and really easy. I don't think stuffies are my thing. I didn't particularly enjoy trying to seam everything together and, you know, stuffing it all, but that's okay. I love trying new things, and not every time is it something that you really want to continue doing. And I'm so happy that I experienced it and that I tried it and that it made someone else in my life happy. I don't have it because obviously it was a gift, but I'm going to put a picture right here somewhere. And yeah, my second finished object, which is really my first finished object of this podcast, is a shawl that I made for my mother for her birthday. I actually started working on it back in, I don't know, August of last year. But my mom is allergic to wool, so it leads me to having to find alternative yarns for her. And I'm not particularly keen on acrylic. Not that I think that there's anything wrong with acrylic. I just personally don't like the way it feels. So it makes it kind of hard for me to knit with it. I used to love acrylic. I used to, you know, knit with it all the time, but it's not really my thing anymore. And that's okay. I know wool's not some people's things. Obviously, it's not my mom's thing. So I ended up, sorry guys, I forgot to grab this, finding this yarn. It's been so long since I bought it that I don't remember what it is. It's like, I want to say it's like something pop sock or something like that. It is a bamboo blend, and the twist is kind of interesting on it. Like, if I can find an end to it. It's a super, let me see if I can get it to focus here. Okay, I guess not, but I think you guys can kind of get the gist. It's a very interesting twist. And it's bamboo, which is great for my mom. It wasn't necessarily a yarn that I was loving. I definitely love the colors, and I love the fact that it's made out of bamboo. But the texture of it, I'm a big texture person, and it kind of just feels a little weird to me. I definitely love it. Like, I'll definitely knit with it again. I just, you know, for whatever reason, I took out that shawl and started it, and took it out and started it so many times. I tried Stephen West shawls and Andrew Maury shawls, and like, I probably started like 5 different shawls with it before I realized that the reason I wasn't liking it is because this yarn wanted to be crocheted. I think that the texture of the yarn just really lends itself better to like the crochet hook. And once I figured that out, it was smooth sailing. So well, you don't really cast on for crochet. I started it and I knit on it all the way up until the Stephen West knit along. And then I started my shellography and kind of forgot about it. And then I realized like, oh my goodness, my mom's birthday is coming up. I have to get this finished. So it was like a mad dash in the last like week to get that finished because I really wanted to give it to her for her birthday. So I did. I got it done. She absolutely loved it. Blue is her favorite color. And I'll post a picture of it right here because again, it was gifted and I don't have it on my person. So my last FO is something that was an acquisition on my last podcast, and in between that one and this one, I started and finished it. It's another Musselburgh hat for a friend of mine, and I love the way, like, I didn't even realize it was doing this whole stripey thing until after I washed and blocked it, and it really kind of like, I don't know, did whatever yarn does when it bloomed or whatever you call it. I'm not good at technical stuff. Anyways, it became way more beautiful after I blocked it. And I noticed that it had these stripes and I thought that was so cool. So yeah, this is a Musselburgh for a friend of mine. And the yarn I used was Knit Picks Hawthorne fingering weight, Blackbird kettle dye, and is that the colorway? I guess so. And this is the tag. I have another ball of it. There we go. So the yarn itself was great. And it did bleed a lot onto my fingers, but once I washed it, I washed it once and it was still, like you could see in the water, that it was dark. So I washed it again, and the second time I washed it, it was completely clear. Love this pattern. This is like the 8th one I've done this year. I don't know. I've done a lot of them. So I'm super excited to send this off, and I hope the recipient loves it as much as I do. So that's all for FOs today, guys. Let me go gather my whips and then we'll talk about whips. So my first whip that I wanted to show you is my Gingerbread Sweater by the patterns by Espostrico. The last time that I showed this, I was right where this little stitch marker is. This is like one of the stitch markers that my mom made for me. It's living in my camo bag that my mother also made for me. So since the last time I showed it to you guys, I finished the raglan increases, split for the sleeves, and I'm about a ½ an inch down on the sleeves. I tried it on. It's fitting well so far. I do have to say, like, it is quite a bit of itch, but I'm thinking that once I wash and block this, it will, you know, the itch will calm down. But I'm just like loving the way it's coming out. It's so beautiful together. I don't know if you can, oh yeah, you can see the halo, right? It's just beautiful. So the yarns I'm using for it is this Ella Rae Kid Sparkle. This is the ball band for it. It is a acrylic nylon and mohair blend. And this is a really like inexpensive substitute for like a mohair silk blend or something. I found it at Webb's in Northampton. I'm sure you can find it online, but I do like it. It's not quite as soft, obviously, but because it's not, you know, a silk mohair blend, but it gets the job done. It gives you the halo that everyone wants when they're holding mohair double with something. And then the other yarn that I'm using is, I don't have a ball of it because I'm working off of a frog sweater that I started with this yarn before. I think we've all done that, right? Who wants to frog an entire sweater that's made in fingering weight? I was like halfway through the sweater when I decided to frog it, so that would have been a lot of frogging. And I'm a little lazy for that, not gonna lie. But it's okay, there's no judgment here. So this yarn is Cloudborne Fibers Highland Superwash Sock Twist in the charcoal color Charcoal Heather colorway. It's an 80% superwash fine Highland wool, 20% polyamide. This is the label. So yeah, that is my gingerbread sweater. I'm hoping that by the next podcast, I'll maybe have the body done. I don't know. That's a stretch goal. We'll see if it happens. So my second whip is living here in my swear bag, also made by my mom. For a little bit of an explanation on that, you can watch my first podcast where I talk about it. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. And I'm making the Blizzard sweater by Jessica McDonald for my husband. So let's see. Last time I showed this on the podcast, I was where the stitch marker is. Since then, I've gotten that much done on the body, and then I put it on hold and started the sleeve, and I've got that much of the sleeve done. So I'll give it a little bit of a hold up so you guys can actually see it. I talked about it on my last podcast. I'm getting a little nervous about the amount of yarn that I have left as far as the blue. I have like a whole ball that I haven't even touched left of the orange. And like I took the label off and I like wound it up, and that's like basically as far as I've gotten with it. But I am worried about how much blue I have left. So I decided that I would just finish the ball I was on for the body. I have the body on my, I'm knitting it on my ChowGoo interchangeables. So I just popped it on an extra cord, put some stitch stoppers on it, and I'm going to knit the sleeves first. And then once I'm done with the sleeves, go back and finish the ribbing on the body. Because I figure if the body needs more, or if I can get away without doing more, it, you know, I can, when I block it, kind of try and stretch it a little bit lengthwise, because it can stretch. I know when you stretch it lengthwise, like you lose a little bit widthwise, but I think there's a little wiggle room in there, judging by try-ons that we've had. So we'll see. I was hoping to have this done, but that's not going to happen. So this is going to be a birthday present for my husband, and I better get on it because his birthday is Saturday. So we'll see. We'll see if we get it done. So yeah, that's my Blizzard sweater. Sorry if you can hear my needles clinking around. And let's move on to my next whip. Oh, and guys, I forgot to mention the yarn that I'm using for that is Burrow Vintage. It's an acrylic wool nylon blend. This is the label. Sorry that it's a little crinkled. These labels, you know, they've been around for a while. Yeah, that is the label for that. Moving on, the next whip that I have is another muscle burra because I cast off the one I was working on. So naturally, immediately you have to cast on another one, right? So I talked about it in the last podcast that I got a ball of Hypnotic yarns in her update. And originally I was going to make it for something for me, but then I started knitting it up and I'm like, no, this is totally my daughter Ella's color. So it's Hypnotic yarns, and it's the Devil in a Blue Dress. It's on her Helix fingering base, 100% superwash merino. See if I can get it to focus. Maybe, probably not. Okay. When I tell you guys, like, if you guys don't have yarn from her on this base, next time she has an update, run for it. It is so soft and so plump, and it's just, like, beautiful. I can't say enough good things. I've used yarn from her before, but not on this base, and I definitely will be using more of this base. So I've got it in a ball instead of a cake today because I didn't feel like using my ball winder because I was watching a really good show and I didn't want to stop to wind a ball. So I wound this by hand. So this is the yarn, and this is how far I've gotten on the hat. I love this. I know the pooling and everything might bother some people. I love the randomness of it. I love that it's doing the little micro striping, and then it's got like the kind of diagonal pools on it. And the other really cool thing about it is I'm kind of in a bad spot in the hat to show you, but it's got like zebra yarn sections. Like, let me see if I can, yeah, pull it out enough to show you. Like, it's got sections where it's like a zebra yarn, and in some parts of the hat, like the zebra yarns are like pulling, the zebra yarn part is like pulling together and making this really cool. I don't know. It's just super whimsical, super fun, and super like my daughter. So I started knitting it, and then I was like, nope, this is for Ella. So, which I mean works out for me, right? Because it's less to knit. So I'm about halfway through so like a quarter of the way through, I would say. And I started this like 2 days ago, and I'm already here. So I am just like flying through it. This yarn is amazing to work with. I can't even say enough good stuff about Hypnotic yarn. So yeah, that's my muscle burra. So my last knitting whip, I have one more whip, but it's not knitting, is this sock. It's actually a half finished object. I'm using Malabrigo sock, and the white is from that mini set that I showed in acquisitions. It's kind of blown out. There we go. That's a little better. I'm making this for someone. I'm using the method that Kay from Crazy Sock Lady uses, where she puts a stitch marker in every so many rows, and that's how you count instead of having to write it down, which makes socks super duper portable. I'm loving using that method. I just started using it, and I don't think I'll ever go back to tally marks or measurements or guessing or whatever method I used before. So I've got that, and then on the second sock, like I literally just have like 3 rows of the cuff. It's not much to see. I do this thing where as soon as I finish one sock, I always cast on the next sock, like immediately, because I find that kind of prevents me from getting second sock syndrome, because it's so much easier to like pick up and work on if you already have it cast on and ready to go. So I did cast it on and start, and then promptly put it away because I'm addicted to the muscle burra right now. So like I said, I'm using Malabrigo sock. It is, I think a in the Chris colorway. If I can get it to focus. Chris, K-R-I-S, that's the colorway. It doesn't say on here what the blend is, but I'm like 99% sure it's a 75-25 superwash nylon blend. So hopefully I'll definitely have these done by the next podcast. They are a gift, so I think I'll have them, but if I don't, like obviously I'll make sure to take pictures. My last whip is a spinning whip. I talked about in my last podcast how I really want to try and get like one little mini skein done a month. So this month I picked this beautiful purple colorway. And I haven't done a whole lot on it, honestly, but I'm just so in love with this color. I picked it out of my grab bag. I don't really know what the blend is because it's just a bag of like mill ends that they kind of mixed everything together. This is, we'll get that out of there. This is the fiber that I'm spinning from, and yeah, so I can't wait to get that finished. Hopefully I can accomplish getting it finished by the end of the month like I wanted to. That's all for whips, so let's move on to spreading the fiber love. So I thought we'd do spreading the fiber love a little bit differently this week. Normally I'll talk about someone or something that has caught my eye or made an impression on me in the last 2 weeks since we talked. But this week is my Bamma's birthday, and after all, this is Jewelsknits for Bamma. So I thought it would be important to spread a little love to my Bamma in heaven. So my Bamma taught me how to knit when I was about 5, 6, like kindergarten age. And, you know, it's something I really bonded with her throughout my life. And I think that it's important that we recognize the people who taught us this and, you know, share our stories with everybody. So I thought instead of me spreading the fiber love this week, in memory of Bamma, we could all spread the fiber love. So who taught you how to knit? Is it a grandmother, a friend, YouTube? I'm really curious to know. And I'm really curious to hear some of your knitting stories and how people in the knitting community have impacted your life. I know because of my Bamma and her teaching me how to knit, I've been able to teach other people how to knit, and it's just growing this amazing community, and it's because of people like my Bamma who took the time and the patience to teach a 5-year-old girl how to do it. Or, you know, to teach someone who's in their late 60s who has never knit in their life a whole new craft. I've always said it, and I'll continue to say it. I think people in the knitting community are some of the most generous people you'll ever meet. And I just love this community so much. And my Bamma's birthday coming up is just making me feel so nostalgic and thankful for the memories and experiences that I have been able to have because of this community that I'm a part of. Is there anyone in the knitting community that you want to talk about? I'd love to hear what everyone has to say. So now that we've talked about all things knitting, I thought I'd give a little bit of a life update. I do have one more knitting related thing that I want to talk about, but I'll get to that. As far as life, we haven't really done a whole lot here in the Wilson household. You know, last podcast I talked about how we had a crazy couple of weeks with toothaches and stomach bugs and birthdays, and I think we kind of just took the last 2 weeks to take a breather, relax, you know, all that stuff. My husband did have a couple snowstorms that he had to work, and, you know, so that was a little hectic, but other than that, we've just been kind of chilling. You know, I've gone to work, the girls had school. My girls had a sleepover at my mom's house this weekend, which was super nice. It happened to be storming, so my husband was off plowing snow and my girls were with their mama, and I got like 4 hours of uninterrupted knitting time, which pretty much never happens. So that was great. I got to catch up on some shows that I was watching. Right now I'm currently a little bit obsessed with the Joe versus Carol show that's on Peacock. I've been watching that a lot. I also watched some Gilmore Girls because I'm always watching Gilmore Girls in the background. So yeah, that's really all that we've been up to. Actually, one more thing. So I'm not sure if I talked about it in episode 1 or 2, but there was a farm up the road from my house that we got invited to go to. They gave me some yarn. It's called Fulham Meadow Farm. So we've kind of become friendly with her, and this past week, one of her sheep had a lamb, and we got invited to go see the lamb, and her name is Georgia, and she is so precious. And so me and my girls and my husband went up there. We got to see the lamb and look at the chickens and the ducks, and that they're just an awesome place up there, and I just love visiting, and I can't wait to visit again. So that was really like the highlight of our week. Like I said, we didn't really do a whole lot, but sometimes not doing a whole lot is just what you need. It's just what the doctor ordered, right? It's kind of like that weird time of year where it's not really super cold anymore, so it's okay to go outside, but it's not really warm enough to like be outside for long periods of time, so you're kind of stuck in this weird like limbo of weather where some days it's like 50 and some days it's like 20, and you know, if you live in New England, you know. But the other thing that I wanted to show you guys was I kind of finally got my knitting journal together. So I'm wondering, like, what do you guys do to organize your projects? Or are you one of those people that just knits and never writes notes and, you know, just goes with the flow? Or are you a tracker and a planner? I used to be a go with the flow kind of person until about, I don't know, maybe a year ago. I don't know. The pandemic has changed me a lot. There's things that I never did before that I kind of do now. Maybe it's out of like a boredom thing because we weren't able to do stuff. I don't know. Anyways, so I saw that Kay of the Crazy Sock Lady started this knitting journal, and I thought it was a really good idea because I've been finding myself wishing that oh, I wish I had that written down because I made that hat for her last year and she wants another one and it would be so easy to go back and look at it. However, I've tried the Ravelry thing before. I do use Ravelry mainly for my patterns or if I'm testing something. Like a lot of times Ravelry is a requirement. But as far as like the general day-to-day, I'm not really on it. So I watched the video where Kay of the Crazy Sock Lady talks about her knitting journal, and I just thought it was so cool that I wanted to do it for myself. So I've been kind of slowly compiling. I started this in February, and I've slowly kind of been compiling the information into it, and now I'm finally like caught up to where I am in my whips. So I thought I'd show it to you guys. So I just got like a little notebook, you know, it's got the little strap on it to keep it closed and the fun dangly thing. I don't know who makes it. I just got it at like Target or something. But in it I have written down like this one, fingerless mitts, when I started it, what pattern I used, then I made up the pattern as I went along, what yarn I used, what colorway it was, what kind of needles I used, and like any sort of like additional information. Like for this one I wrote made for my friend on request because she's my main girl and she deserves it. And then the only thing I haven't done yet that I want to do is I left these pages blank because I want to start putting like a picture of the project and then maybe like taping in a little bit of the yarn just so I can, you know, I can see it when I'm flipping through. And then also like this one I frogged, so I wrote a giant frog across it so that I know that I frogged it. But it was also really cool because by doing that, I was able to do this, which I'm a little obsessed with. I'm attempting to do like a quarterly check-in with myself. And this is all just an attempt to keep myself on track with my goals of like knitting myself more things this year. Not that knitting for other people is a bad thing. I do it all the time. So much so that I don't knit for myself, but I really would like to start building up my own knitted wardrobe. Which it just dawned on me, you guys are probably wondering if I made this. I didn't. It's a store-bought sweater. The gingerbread sweater is the first sweater I've ever actually making for myself. But anyways, I'm on a tangent. So I did like a little quarterly check-in and like went through my book and wrote down a bunch of things. So I thought I would share that with you. So I've worked on 27 projects so far since January 1st. I've completed 20 of them. I've frogged 3 of them. And I still have 4 that are whips, which actually that's only 3 that are whips now because I finished one of the ones that were in that list. So that's a pretty, I mean, I didn't think I really knit that much, but now that I'm like, then I went through my book and looked at it, I'm like, wow, I really do knit a lot. And then for the second section, so I have it broken up into sections. So for the second section, I wrote down like what patterns I used and how many of each of that pattern I've completed. So obviously like the shellography, there's only 1 there. But I was astounded to find out, which I didn't realize I had done, that so far this year, I have already knit 8 muscle burras. And I just finished another one, so let's make that 9. 9 muscle burras this year already. So that was cool. And then I also, like the next section, I wrote down the 3 that I frogged in that quarter. And then I thought it would be fun to like, in the little space that I had left, talk about like, I wrote my current favorite whip is my gingerbread sweater. My current favorite finished object is the bean and olive sweater that I made for my daughter. Out of, I think this was before I started the podcast, I can't remember. I basically took fingering weight sock scraps and held them double and made her the bean and olive sweater. If I can remember, I'll try and put a picture up here so you can see. And then I also wrote like my goals for like the next quarter of the year. So my next quarter of the year, my goals are to finish my gingerbread sweater and my blizzard sweater. I want to add to the sea glass sweater that I started for my mother-in-law. I have to begin my Christmas knitting, which I know sounds insane, But I knit for everybody in my life for Christmas. I don't buy gifts generally. I mean, I do for like the littles, but everybody else gets a knitted gift from me. So I generally have to start like at the end of winter, beginning of spring, to be able to have time to make enough for everybody. And then I also have this stretch goal of casting on some tan line joggers. I don't know if it's going to happen. That's a lot of stitches to do on a provisional cast on. I guess I could change it, but I really, like, it's definitely would be a project knit for me and not a process knit, because the idea of basically knitting 2 giant sleeves isn't super appealing to me, but I super want it so badly. And the pattern is great, and the product is great. But I'm, you know, I really want to start it, but that's a huge undertaking because they're, you know, that's a lot. Knitting that is a lot. And I want to get some sweaters off my needles before I do that. So that, oh, and I forgot to show you. So I made like a little index at the beginning where I did like a couple pages, so I can just like write what I've, now that I'm realizing like I've, in the first 3 months, already almost filled up an entire page. I'm kind of wondering if I left myself enough space before I started. But I thought that made it really easy when I was trying to go through and like tally stuff up to see if, you know, it was easier than like flipping through each page. I could just be like, how many socks have I knit? 1, 2, 3, 4. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's what I'm currently doing. It seems to be working out great for me. I just need to get the pictures printed off to put in there. But I'm curious, do you guys do something like this? Do you use Ravelry? Do you just kind of wing it? Do you have any suggestions on how I could make this better? I'm really curious to know what you guys all do. So that is that. And I think that's about all I really have to chat with you guys about today. I really, comment down below, what are you guys working on? And because like I said, like this is, I want this to be a community. I'm sitting here, you know, talking about it, but I want to hear what you guys have to say about it too. And I want to hear what you guys are working on. And thank you for letting me be a part of this knitting community. I love how inclusive it is. And until I see you next time, thanks for stopping by.